Hi. So I kind of just really wanted to show off my original Stardew Valley farm. So I have a lot of hours in this save. And when I say a lot of hours, I mean a lot of hours. It is called Clandestine Farm. And, um, as you can see, I have 258 hours in this single farm alone. Oh my gosh. I am back. So yeah, I decided to marry Harvey. I did decorate his room a little bit. We have Dance of the Moonlight Jellies playing because I kind of set it up so that we got married a couple of days before the Moonlight Jellies. Or the day before, I can't remember. I'm a terrible wife. I can't remember when we got married. But that was like our honeymoon. I thought that was cute. I really like Harvey. He's my favorite bachelor. Down here is my tea room. I don't actually use it to make tea. I kind of have a lot of money. I really like this room. It also has like the sewing machine. I don't know. I'm really proud of it. These are my children. The thing is, I named everything after Taylor Swift songs. So yeah, the boy is James and the girl is Dorothea. This is the kids' playroom, and there's a fish tank with I think some kind of rare fish, Ludiscus. You can only get that from the island. And then we have the actual kids' room. I did keep everything the same, kind of. I added the extra rooms from 1.5, but like I kept this the bedroom, I kept the kids' room, and then the playroom off of it. The thing is, I started this save back in 1.4. It's the Stardew Valley Fair. That's awkward. I don't think we're gonna go, but yeah, I started this save all the way back in 1.4, so I was actually pretty far along in it when 1.5 came out. So I just got to experience that in a very different way. There's this artifact on the table. It's like a ancient doll. It's very common. I'm sure a lot of you have found it, but it's really cute to use as a like toy. And then I got this idea. This isn't my idea, but using the wallpaper catalog as a sort of like storybook. And then you sit here and you read to your children. Oh, and then yeah, we have like coffee here in the TV sitting room because, Harvey likes coffee. I'm really proud of my house. We have the actual like living room, so like the formal living room, I guess. It's very yellow in here. The house itself is very like warm tones. Oh, and then there's this trick where you can kind of like rotate the dresser. You can turn it backwards and it makes a different decoration. I used it over here for like a pantry. That's not my idea either, but it's super clever. I went for like a cozier kitchen as well. Oh, okay. I went for like a cozier kitchen as well. I know that when you open up this space, you can make a huge dining room, and that's super cool, but I like the idea of just keeping this like a cozy little area. I didn't know what to do here, so I just put the china here, and then the coffee machine is here. I do play this game on Switch, so I decorated this entire house with like Switch controls. You have to use like the right joystick for the mouse, which is how you like put things on the wall. And then you kind of like walk up to stuff to place it. It's not that bad, actually. This is just like general cooking ingredients that make sense as cooking ingredients. I never organized my fridges so that I could make every dish with the ingredients in the fridge. It genuinely just never occurred to me. Obviously, the basement is casks. I had to arrange it in a way where nothing was diagonal because, like I said, I play on the Switch and you can't really reach diagonally unless you pull out like the cursor, and that's very annoying. It really slows you down. But that's it for the house. Let's go on out to the farm. I chose the standard farm layout. And like I said, I started this before 1.5, so I didn't take advantage of everything that 1.5 has to offer. Like, I didn't paint my house or any of my buildings. Actually, I did paint my coop because I was messing around with painting and I didn't know how to turn it back. Yeah, I have a slightly darker coop. I guess this is just my random stuff chest. It has like fertilizer, bombs, enrichers. Oh, when 1.5 first came out, I thought enrichers would be better than the enhanced sprinklers because I was like, man, it would be so nice if it just auto-fertilized. They're not better. Don't do what I did and choose the enrichers. And then I have one single fairy dust. Fairy dust isn't really that beneficial, so I never really used it. I have lightning rods sprinkled around the farm because I never wanted to make a lightning farm or anything like that. I've tried to decorate everything, but also make everything functional. Like down here, there's this awkward area, but it has like a couple of seed makers and then a lightning rod. It's cool. I don't mind it. I really liked using the cobblestones for that diagonal pathing, so you'll see a lot of that throughout the farm. I have huge crop fields here, and there's another one on the other side. I mean, I had to make money somehow. So this right side, it was for regrowable crops that I didn't have to replant. Since it's fall, it's cranberries. Down here is one of my favorite areas, so we have like the totems here. That's where I decided to put them. I didn't do like a symmetrical or central layout because I prefer asymmetry personally, but this fish pond area is like one of my favorite areas on the entire farm. I love the trees around the fish ponds. I love the use of like the stuff that you get from the movie theater, the trees and everything. It's just a really pretty area. I'm doing stingrays here, and then I think I might be doing... Yeah, I'm doing sturgeon here, so I didn't really color the ponds or anything. I never used the fish ponds for money-making purposes. I mainly just got one for the missing bundle. This is my mill that I mentioned earlier. I have never really used this, but it's here. I actually really like this area too with like the sunflowers and everything. It's really pretty. I'm really proud of this farm. We're at like these sheds. There's a shipping bin here because these are my sheds for profit. We got my jam shed. And I didn't fill the entire thing. Instead, I decided to like decorate a little. I don't know, I think it's nice in here. It's really cozy. It's got like this greenhouse aesthetic inside. I am making starfruit jelly. I prefer to do ancient fruit wine because it will brew over 7 days, and then the ancient fruit regrows over 7 days, so it lines up really nicely. These chests are pretty much here for just decoration. Here is my wine shed. Fun tip for all of you, if you don't know, if you put one of the machines outside, it'll tell you when everything inside is ready. So that's what I've done here. And then this one is pretty much the same, except I've done this area a little differently. Also a cozy little area, but it's more for like drinking tea. I tried to make use of the flowers in more of like an aesthetic way instead of for profit because they're pretty, you know? As you can imagine, a typical day of tending to this farm, it takes a lot of time. But also, before I left it, I made sure that everything was like ready to harvest to maximize the aesthetic. This isn't what it's usually like. Usually it's staggered a little bit better, although it does take a long time. I remember it took until like 2 p.m. oftentimes to finish out the day. Then I got this area around the lake here. I just used this as an aesthetic area. I am really happy with how the slime shed came out. I didn't have any interest in actually eating slimes, so I just kind of hatched a slime of every color, threw them in, and they're here now. In here, this is where I show off all of my legendary fish. Unfortunately, they're just gold and silver. This is the only save I have ever caught all of the legendary fish in. In fact, it's the only save I've ever caught any legendary fish in, period. I did not go above and beyond and catch the bonus legendary fish from the Chi quests on the island. This is another area for like tea, if you want to sit here for a nice relaxing spot of tea as the slimes are very intent on murdering you. It's fine, they can't get out, probably. Then up here, we've got my animals. I admit it's a little unreasonable. The space here is very small. I mean, it's for the aesthetic, you know? I did decorate the interior, of course. And then obviously we have my auto feeder. I slept through a lot of days at the very end of the run. This is the barn area. It's a little more symmetrical than the coop area, but still a small space. Once I figured out that you can plant grass starters inside, that changed my life. And then in here, I think are all of my rarer animals. So we got the ostriches and the piggies. I did always make my truffles into truffle oil and sell those. That is technically more profitable if you have the artisan profession, which I do, but Iridium truffles are still very valid to sell them on their own, especially if you don't want to go through all the trouble like I did. I simply did not know that at the time. This is where I did like the more expensive crops each season, so this is where cauliflower, melons, and pumpkins go. And then I also have like my Junimo hut set up, and I do have a gem inside which does change their color. If you put a prismatic shard inside, it makes them like rainbow, and I had always intended on doing that, but when the time finally came, I just got a little lazy, and I was like, you know, I'm done. I'm done with the farm. So I chose opal. Opal's really pretty. This is also where I've done my bees. It's not a very realistic way to do it because these inner ones, it's very difficult to pick them, especially on Switch, without harvesting a flower. But I don't really harvest those anymore anyway. Like I said, one of every farm building, that includes the cabins. So each cabin is decorated. I think these might not have like a lot of my own design input. So I'll try to find like where I got reference for them. Inside here is the combat cabin. This is for like a farmer who's more focused on like going into the mines, fighting monsters, and keeping Stardew Valley safe. Obviously, I didn't upgrade them because no one lives here. There is no need to. I guess if I really truly wanted to min-max, I could have done it purely for the seller. This would be more for a sort of social farmer, someone who gets along really well with a lot of the townspeople. They can invite people over. They'd probably explore the valley a lot and do a lot of foraging here and there. And then in here, this is more for another type of forager, someone who is more focused on like wood cutting and maybe even like carves their own furniture. So you might have noticed I am walking around my farm with normal movement speed and no horse. That's because I never really relied on coffee or espressos or spicy eel to move around. It simply never occurred to me. It was one of those things that I just never did. Over here, I wanted to keep this area very decorative. I wanted to keep it as a sort of like shrine to Grandpa, place to visit him and pay respects. That's what the well is supposed to kind of represent. This is also one of my favorite areas with like the flowers. Obviously, I did have to replant these every season. This is also where the golden clock ended up going. I didn't do anything particularly special for it. I also did not move my greenhouse. Like I said, I started this in 1.4, so by the time I could move the greenhouse, it was kind of too late. This is the interior. It's really, really pretty in here. I also have some extra like kegs in here. This chest holds all of my seeds, which I don't really use. Up here is the farm cave, of course. And I chose the mushroom cave. I used to be ride or die for mushroom cave because it is more profitable long term. You can argue both ways, but lately I do choose the bat cave on occasion just to change things up. You know, it's not that serious. This is also where I put the little guy that you get from the museum. He is trapped here for eternity. It is a little harder to decorate the mushroom cave because of the immovable mushroom boxes, but I really liked working with them and having that as a sort of base to work around, but I would choose Batcave next time for a different layout. I have some more kegs over here. This was just like a little space that I didn't really know what to do with. And then this is my workshop. This design is entirely not my own. I did change like where certain machines are placed, but I really liked the idea of centering the community center trophy here. This is where I have all of my statues that I've gotten over time, and one of them being the one you buy at the casino for 1,000,000 gold. I only ever bought one, and I bought it for the aesthetic because, well, you lose money on them, so it's not really recommended to buy them for profit. But if you want to buy them for materials or decoration, then that's usually what they're for. We got my main storage area over here. Some of these chests are purely for decoration, so like this one is completely empty. So these are all my fruits. I don't sort by season, I just sort by category. In here is vegetables. I only kept the basic qualities because if I had kept every quality, it would have taken up a lot of space. In here are artisan goods. As you saw, I have a lot of tea areas around, so I was making a lot of tea for a while until I realized I don't need that much tea. In here we have my fish, I guess. And then in here, we have more of like my rarer type fish. Like you have to go to special locations to find them. At a certain point, I had to separate them somehow because my chests were getting too full. So in here, we have crab pot fish and roe. Actually, fun fact, when I was doing perfection, the last fish that I needed, I believe, it was one of the ocean crabfish that I just hadn't gotten because I had never placed a crab pot in the ocean. So that came back to bite me later. In here, I have artifacts. So just extra stuff I'd collected. At a certain point, I just started hoarding. These are bones. I have a separate chest just for bones. I have some extra snake vertebrae. I think these are rare. I just have 2 extra on hand. And then in here, I have flowers. So I have like every color, but only the base quality. Doing it this way is great for storage, but it's not great for gift giving because higher quality materials and items are appreciated more by the townspeople. It did take a little longer to build up friendship, but in the end, it wasn't that bad. Here, I have a crafting station, and I can craft almost everything. And then in here, I have more recognizable gems. This is mainly what I used for gifting. Over here, I have things that have been crafted. I always wanted to set up a solar panel farm, but I just never got around to it. There were some things that I wanted to do, but since I had gotten access to 1.5 so late, I never got the chance to before I reached perfection, and I didn't really need to in the end. In here, we have some of my more valuable stuff. Actually, I believe this is stuff for the Grange display. I never sold treasure chests just because I wanted to keep them. I don't know. I never really had the heart to, even though they do sell for a lot. Same with golden pumpkins. I honestly think it's a lot cooler to keep golden pumpkins for every year that you do the festival, so I have 8. I did also try to put a jukebox like pretty much everywhere, you know, for the vibes. All that's left is just this area up here. I have a lot of hidden scarecrows around. I don't know if you noticed them. They're to keep certain flowers safe. Yeah, we can go check out the island now. This is my island farm. I think it's really pretty here. We have a path leading into the cave, but I didn't decorate the cave. I mean, it already looks pretty spiffy on its own. I mainly did pineapples and I guess ancient fruit. I kind of did like a pattern. I didn't decorate on the beach or anything. I mean, there was a limit, you know? This is where my mango trees and banana trees went because I didn't have space in my greenhouse and I didn't want to change my layout. I used the mahogany path here because the mahogany path is really pretty, but I don't tend to prefer wooden paths normally. This is a sort of bar. That's about it. I'm actually really proud of my island house. So the kitchen was actually pretty difficult to decorate because it's so small. Over here is like one of my favorite rooms. It's sort of like sunken. This is supposed to be water. Don't step in it. You might drown. There's some things growing here and there, but we're still making use of it as a house, you know? That's supposed to be more of like an outdoor-ish area that's been broken off and exposed to the elements. It's a rundown island house. Over here is a cozy little living room. I tried to keep calendars like everywhere so I could check the date and if there was anything important birthdays wise, especially while I was trying to get friendship with people. And here's the bedroom. And then last but not least, we can go check out the perfection tracker. As you can see, I have reached 100% perfection. It took quite a long time. Definitely don't underestimate perfection. So I realized I actually almost forgot to show you guys my quarry, which I have fully decorated along with my bus stop. I would actually really recommend decorating your bus stop. It does add a lot if that's something you are interested in. I have a little area here for my horse to wait while I go off to Skull Caverns, just so they can be comfortable because I always felt really bad leaving my horse behind. So for my quarry, I used it more for resource gathering, and this was where I had my oak resin farm. It used to be completely full of oak trees, but I cut that down when I decided to actually make use of this area. Unfortunately, the jukebox does not work here, but this is like a comfy, cozy area for people to go. I did want to leave some of the actual quarry because I do actually like having the quarry here and, you know, having things to break. But overall, I really like how the quarry turned out. So that's everything From my farm to my island to the quarry, even. That is everything I have done in this save file, and I'm actually really very proud of it. So thank you so much for watching this far if you did. I had so much fun showing off my farm, and I hope you enjoyed seeing what I made. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and take care.